here today. Does anybody have, as you're looking at things, again, I know answers are out there, and as I was putting in some assignments this morning, a few of you I need to see a little bit more work on there. All right, as we're going through doing some of this, or staple, whatever you just did with it, but as we're going through and bringing out the that GCF and those numbers are large, keeping track in your heads doesn't work. Okay, so you bring out that GCF, those numbers, show me that next line. That's what we want to see. For some of you, you've done a great job of showing me some of that work. I know your thought process there. For a few of you, I don't know about that. All right, one more time. This is you. Anybody have particular questions of where some of these answers, how we getting to that? Andrew? 8. Let's look at 8. I guess it was at the bottom. All right, on number 8, we are solving right there. First thing I notice is it's in factored form. We always want to be in factored form. It is in factored form. So it's just like number 7. Right there in the parentheses should be the one you should see and say, oh, pretty quickly. We subtract 5. We're using what we again call our zero product property. And then divide by 2. And that's where I'm getting that negative 5 halves. But then I care about when it's out front, there is a variable there. If it was just 2, don't care about it. But because there is an a there, I set it equal to 0. Is there anything to do with that? No. It is already just a is by itself. Thank you, Parker. A is by itself. Okay? So that's where I'm getting that 0 solution. What that tells me then is that polynomial was such that you did not have a constant term up there. Okay? That goes hand in hand. Other questions? This is you. 8? 10? Let's look at number 10 real quick. First thing I'm noticing is it's very much not in standard form. Clean that thing up. I get a minus n. I'm going to move to the other side. When I add it on over, I'm going to add it right there. And then I get what? N squared minus 8n. And then I see a minus 6 I need to do. And what happens to those constants? They cancel out, right? So we're in standard form. Second thing is now GCF. And for sure we have a GCF because what did we just lose? We just lost the constant. A is 1, B is negative 8, but C turned out to be 0. And when C is 0, you got to do the GCF. So what's the GCF for both of these terms? They both have a n in common. Take it out. And then just like we did on the previous one, number 8 I think it was, it's the exact same problem. But those are the ones that they were just asking about. Those are the ones that always, for whatever reason, trip up people. I would say tricky, but they trip up people. Usually something like number 9 and number 11, those are usually fine. The trinomials are usually fine. Those pesky binomials that mess up the kids. Hey. Yeah, no problem. Yep, feel free to. All right, anything else anybody's got? Good questions there. 15. All right, let's get 15 real quick. All right, 15 is a good one, again, to talk about. I went just to undo everything we just did up above. So if I give you these particular solutions, I want you to think backwards of what did that equation have to be. We're going to build the equation now. So again, how did I get a negative 4 as a solution? What did that parenthesis have to look like beforehand? And what that parenthesis had to look like was, it's the inverse. If x equals negative 4, what's the inverse of negative 4? Plus 4. Okay? And what's the inverse of a positive 5? Negative 5, right? So if we had done our factoring, we got to this point, we would do our zero product property. This now should take you right back to what the solutions were. And does that take you back to negative 4? Does that take you back to 5? There we go. That's all I want from you. I think today we'll make a small change on that. Nothing major. All right, but that's the general idea. Let's talk 16 while we're here, actually, because of that negative 2/3. Same idea. Okay, now the 0, we saw 0 up there at 10 and on number 8, I think. X equals 0 means it's just x. But now let's think about some of these other ones where I've gotten negative 2/3. We want to undo that. So if I get a negative 2/3, does that mean we had to do? Well, right here, because we're dividing by 3, what does the inverse of division of 3? The inverse is, I had to have multiplication. So I got rid of multiplication. All right, that's kind of where I'm at. And what's the inverse of a minus? That didn't sound good. And it's a plus. So what did that factored form have to look like? Had to look like that right there. So keep undoing things. Think about what the inverses are. Go back to what you've been doing. Get into that factored form. Okay. All right, one more time. Make sure your name's on it. If you got it done, great. If you don't have it done, or if you're looking at a paper that is just pure answers, there's no work there, turn me in that work later on today. I want just answers. I got to see some work on there. I know we're smart, but you got to have something to go on with some of that. Let's get those notes out. Let's finish up today's notes. All right, let's finish up our packet that I had given you. All right. Okay, let's go find that page down at the bottom there. It's where we had left off from yesterday. Okay. Where we had left off yesterday on, right at the bottom where it says day 2. Go find that. And the last few problems we're going to get and talk about, this kind of wraps up then. Today is our last real lessons then. All we got left is doing a few assessments. So we're going to do just a few more solving things today. Talk about some of the, I don't say special cases, but sometimes things that happen. So let's look at this first one here. Solve it out. It's in the factored form. There's no real thinking to occur off of this. It's already set to 0. Go right at it. They've already done the heavy lifting for you. You're in factored form. Give me my 2 solutions here. Okay. So go at it real quick. Go on to think this. Didn't know what we've just been doing here. What turns out to be my 2 solutions. All right. 2 solutions. What do we got?
5 over 2.
5 over 2 and?
5 over 2.
So I got this deja vu feeling, right? 5 over 2 and 5 over 2. I keep telling you, typically we get how many solutions? 2 for quadratics. But what is true about these 2 solutions? They are the same, right? So typically we get 2, and this is actually one of the instances where really how many solutions are we getting? Yep, we're just getting 1. So in quadratics, typically we get 2, but there are a few exceptions to that rule, and this is one of the exceptions to that rule. Because they came out to be exactly the same, actually what we have here then is just 1 solution. Do not need to tell me on the answer blank both of those 5 over 2, 5 over 2. I get it, you don't need to yell at me. Just give me 1 solution. Now we're going to connect it second semester of what that graph looks like. Now we've been talking about a little bit with its being U-shaped, okay? We talked about it being U-shaped, but this particular graph is we're going to connect it a little bit second semester. Because we get 1 solution, what we end up with is a graph that is doing that. It's sitting on the x-axis at 1 point. So that's where our solutions will connect to our graphs second semester when we do a little more work here. Okay. Now, letter B, first thing I notice is it in standard form? Nope. Let's rearrange it. X squared I'm going to add over that 25x. And I've been really trying to emphasize since last week. I've been throwing these out there just to keep kind of be on your toes. What is missing on this one? It's a binomial. So which one gets the 0? The B or the C? The C is not there, right? The constant is 0. So what does that mean we have to do? Got to do the GCF. You got to GCF it. All right. So what is the GCF up there?
Okay.
And take that out. What are you left with? X plus 25. Give me my 2 solutions. Okay, we're back to 2 solutions. Clearly they're not the exact same up there, so you should get 2 solutions. One of those solutions will always be 0. It's going to come from that GCF that you brought out front there. And on the other one, it just depends on the problem. What is it? Negative 25. Now, as we start to make small connections to graphs of these, again, this particular graph, it's a parabola. Now, because I've done them for quite a few years, and I'm going to talk about this second semester with you, I know that this particular graph is going to do this. If I can make it a little bit better. When you think of 0 on a graph, what do you think about? I think about maybe the origin coming into play. So what this means here is, because of that, I did not make this, actually, should reverse that. It's more technical like that, okay? I know that that U-shaped graph, because of this solution being 0, I know that this thing's gonna at least go through the origin. Here, because it's, again, one solution, I know it's gonna go and sit at exactly one place on there. Those are things we're going to talk about second semester. Bring your solving skills in with your graphing skills. But those are things that all start connect. All right, let's finish up, I think, on the last page there. Okay, let's go ahead and look at letter D. Let's just kind of jump around on things. Letter D here. First thing I noticed on letter D is, it looks like a bit of a hot mess going on. What is, again, the big idea on letter D? Greatest common factor. When I look at that thing, what is staring you again in the face? 3x minus 20, right? So with that 3x minus 20 there, it's the GCF. It's a little bit of an odd GCF than what we did on the other one, but there is a GCF there. If I take out that 3x minus 20, what am I left with on the first one? And what am I left with on the other one? Yep, plus 2. The GCF is your shortcut, okay? Sometimes it just reduces the size of the numbers. You still get a trinomial. Sometimes here, do the GCF and you're essentially done. That's what happened on the previous example. And then this last one here, the GCF gave us into factored form. Give my two solutions. Again, you guys are smart kids. You should be able to keep track of that in your head. I add 20, divide by 3. Leave it as a fraction. And on the other one, I subtract 2, divide by 7. Again, yep, leave it as a fraction. Okay, that's it. And lastly, as I make one more sketch of this graph that we were starting to again bring in second semester. How many solutions we got here? 2 solutions, right? So I know, because that being 2 solutions, that graph is going to look like that. It's going to cross the x-axis. This is a negative solution. This is a positive solution. I know it's going to look something starting like that. Okay, so those are things I want you to start thinking about. Okay, down here at the bottom, let's do a few more. Let me just see what's going on there. Okay, let's do a few more here. Write it backwards. Number 5, letter A there. All right, we just started this yesterday, but as you can see, I have the last piece. I lied to you. All right, I sometimes do that. Okay, sometimes, yes, Sam. I said there's no more twists for today, but that's a small last twist. After we get in factor form, I want you to take it to in standard form. So if I give you these 2 solutions here, if I give you x equals negative 12, what did that quantity have to be to start off with? That had to be what? X plus 12, right? And if I get a solution of a 12, a positive 12, what's the inverse of a positive 12? I had to have a negative 12. Don't forget the equal 0. You're building an equation here, so we got to put that equal 0 there. Again, that's what we say is factor form. And if you take these factored form, take it backwards, you should go back to those solutions. Now, use your distributive skills. Take this thing, rewrite it now into standard form. Let's go back a couple months and use your polynomial skills. Put this factored form into standard form. So distribute, combine like terms. What is ax squared plus bx plus c? What's that going to look like? That's what we're doing now. Okay, that's my last thing then. I'm not lying to you there now. That's the last one. Or am I? So x squared. What's going to happen to those 12 x's here? Yeah, those 12 x's, I'm getting a negative 12x and a positive 12x. They're going to cancel out. And And what's 12 times negative 12? Yep. So when I put that thing into standard form, what happens here? Which term dropped out for us? The b term, right? The linear term. So who cares? Okay, but keep using those skills that we've been talking about. All right, let's do another one down here. Let's skip it around. Let's look at letter C right below that. All right, I did one of those just a second ago on the homework with that 2/5. So think about what does undoing a 2/5 looks like. You're dividing by 5. What's the inverse of division? And then what's a positive 2? What's the inverse of a positive 2? Undo those two things. So what's the inverse of division? Multiplication. So you're left with, let me write that a little bit better. 5x equals 2. And then what's the inverse of positive 2? It is a minus 2. And that's that factored form I start creating. That's what quantity that gives me 2/5, right? Add 2, divide by 5, takes me back there. And if it's a minus 2, what did that minus have to 2 be? Had to be plus 2, right? So there's my factored form right there. Distribute it, put it out into standard form now. Okay. Distribute this one here. Might want to write things down with keeping track of that in your head. Could get a little messy here. I know it's going to be 5x squared. But then what I got? 10x and minus 2x. And what's 10x minus 2x get me? 8x, right? And then minus a 4 equals 0. Check my arithmetic. It's easy to make mistakes. So that's it. Can you go between all these forms? That's what we're starting to do now. Can you go from factored form to standard form? Can you go from standard form to factored form? That's all that we're doing. Solving those, can you keep solving them? All right. All right, let's finish this off. Is there anything else on there? Nope. Nope, I do have some other ones on the back. That's cool. Good, because I thought I had some challenge problems. Let's do some challenge problems on the back side. Let's do letter D. These are my challenge problems with you. Okay? When I give you that quiz on Friday, if I give you a challenge problem like that, it's probably going to be maybe more as opportunity for a bonus.
You said letter E?
D.
Oh.
D. It's going to be probably more like a bonus opportunity. Okay, what I'm going to assess you on is kind of just the basics of factoring. That's what the mini quiz has been on. Now, I say it's a challenge problem. It's not crazy. But look at letter D. What jumps out to you? It looks like it's in factored form. Is this in factored form? No. Why you're shaking your head? No. Why is it not? It's got to be 0 to be in factored form. And what's it equal? 2. So this might look like it's a shortcut and like, hey, x is 5, x is 6, move on. That's the common mistake I see. Unfortunately, we need to absolutely distribute this thing, rearrange things, put it in standard form, and factor everything. This is now not in any type of form. So we have to start off by distributing this through x squared minus 6x minus 5x plus 30 equals 2. As Lydia said, it's not set to 0. It's got to be set to 0. And because of that, we got to do a lot of distributing. Then we got to combine like terms. And then we got to subtract 2. So what is the standard form that we get? X squared minus 11x. And then what is it? But subtract that 2. Yeah, we can do all that at once for ourselves. Now, once you're to 0, okay, now that's what we were doing yesterday. That's what we've been doing for the last week. But if it's not set to 0, you got to rearrange. So now let's do that. We're in standard form. Any GCFs up there? A is 1, B is negative 11, C is 28 now. Factors of A, factors of C. How can I get a 1? 1. How can I get a 28? Again, get into this habit. It takes me all of 10 seconds and you all of 10 seconds to list out those factors. You can multiply, you know, your times table in your heads. How do I get negative 20? Nope, sorry, it's a positive 28. Same signs or opposites? And what is that saying? Pluses or minuses? Yep, we're going with minuses. Build it. X and X. And because they're both minuses, This is one you should be able to almost kind of then finally fall into. The ones out front doesn't really do anything with your multiplication. So you're trying to get a negative 11 out of there, and you should really just be able to look at those pairs and think, what pair gets me somehow to an 11? As Sam said, what, 4 and 7? Now this is an equation, so we're not stopping here. What are we doing? We're still going through and solving it out. So give me my two solutions. One solution is, and the other solution is plus 2. Okay? So if it's not set to 0, life is not that easy. Let's do another one here. Let's take a look at letter F down below. Okay, I got a bunch of these on the back. Let's just do a few more of these. Letter F. First thing again I notice is it's not really in any type of form. It's just again kind of a jumbled mess. And when it's kind of that jumbled mess, let's go ahead and start distributing because we got parentheses, combining like terms. Get that thing into standard form. So I got parentheses. Let's do that out. X times 2x and x times 4. Right hand side, we have 9 times 14. 126. Okay. So there we go. Clean it up a bit. Again, Lydia said it has to be set to 0. So what we got to do now? Subtract 126. And let's get again to something that we are familiar with. What are we familiar with? We are familiar with trinomials. We are familiar with standard form. 126 is pretty large. Sometimes we're stuck with that. But as Caleb just suggested, once we're in standard form, look for that GCF. They're all even, so I know at least 2 works out. So if I bring out that 2, divide by 2, what do we got? X squared plus 2x minus, what is that, 63? Okay. We talked about GCFs. We talked about factoring. We're now bringing all that solving in together. With that now, we brought the GCF out. A now turned out to be what? A is 1, B is what? 2, and C is negative 63. Not a lot of opportunities for 63, 1 and 63. 7 and 9 is the other one, but there is also a possibility of 3 and 21. Again, be in the habit of listening to them, but 7 and 9, right? I think it's my other pair. And as we look across the board, trying to get a 2 out of that. All right. What's got to be true about the signs? Sames or opposites? Correct. And as we build it, as I look down those pairs, trying to get a 2 out of there. Yeah, this one should be pretty straightforward. It's a 1. 1 doesn't really kill you. But if you didn't bring that 2 out, they'd be a little bit nastier to work with. So yeah, 7 and 9, and which one gets the plus? Yep. Now I got that GCF along for the ride. But do I care about that GCF there? Only if it's a variable. So because it's a 2, I don't care about it. So what are my 2 solutions? There we go. Okay. All right. Give you a second there. Let's see what else we got. Last 2, that works out well. We'll do the last 2 there. Okay. G, and then we'll do number 7. Okay, or letter G, I should say. No parentheses, but not set to 0. So what we got to do is put it in standard form. As I rearrange it into standard form, how many terms am I ending up with? Just 2. I've got a binomial. And when I see a binomial, flag should go up that I'm about to get a 0 here, either for C or for B, the constant or linear term. Which one has got the 0 on it, the constant or the linear? Correct. So what that then tells me is absolutely a GCF has to happen because C is 0. So what's my GCF up here? Show me what you have left over. And as we do that, 7x minus 1. And again, trying to emphasize, looking ahead, one of those solutions will always be 0. It's going to be that GCF that you brought out front. That's going to give you that 0 solution. It's what's 0 divided by anything. Still 0. Okay. And then for the other one, add 1 divided by 7. There we go. Okay. Now yesterday, I think it might have been yesterday, we did one just like number 7. I gave it to you in factored form, I think it was the case yesterday. Who cares what it is? Again, SAT will give you that type of question. Different types of equations are out there. But this one, let's finish this thing off. 5n squared plus 4n does not equal 1. We got to rearrange it, put it to 0, right? So what we really want to work with is this guy right here. So we put it into standard. Let's go get our 2 solutions. And when I get my 2 solutions, what's the one I'm going to keep then? I'm only going to keep the positive one, right? Factors of 5, factors of 1. And this goes back to the very first thing we did on, what, last Thursday it was? 5n and 1n builds it. What's got to be true about my signs? Gotta have opposites. And, well, just gotta really know where the signs are at. It's only 1 and 1. And which one gets the plus? The first one, 5n plus 1, or is it 5n minus 1? Plus.
5 here minus 1.
Okay, let's check that. 5 times negative 1, 1 times n. Does that give me that positive 4? So my signs need to switch then. Okay, yep, that's why we always check it. So what should this be? 5n minus 1 and plus 1, right? Now that confirms. I get my 2 solutions. Add 1, divide by 5. Subtract 1. Again, if this is a multiple choice problem, I'm looking for these 2 solutions. But it's not. It's my grid response. So the only one I can actually type into my grid response is the positive. So makes sense when they say right up there at the top, n is greater than 0. Now how do we bubble this thing in?
0.5.
Yeah. So you got a couple options. We can type in 1/5. That's my division bar. Okay, that's my fraction bar. So we can type in 1/5 just fine on the grid responses. By doing 1 divided by 5 like that, that's your fraction bar. Another option is you could kind of slide this back column. You could do 1 divided by 5 here. That's fine too. The other thing you could do is, I heard a decimal. I'm always hesitant with the decimals, but you can definitely change it. 1 divided by 5 is 0.2. So for that 0.2, bubble in the point, bubble in the 2. Do you put the 0 out front? You can. All right, but it's not necessary. The SAT machine is going to look for that 0.2. It's going to look for 1/5. Any of those options are fine. Okay. Make sure you bubble. Okay. I think that finally does it. All right. So like I said, in terms of factoring topics for Algebra 1, we've done about 90–95% of it in the last week and a half here. Okay. So that's good. Now, second semester, we're going to continue working with that and keep adding a few small things in there, but we are there. We pass out the assignment to you, and then I'm going to come around and pass out the mini quiz from the other day, just talk about a couple things. Today, you actually have some time to work. And then before we leave here, I will also pass out your reading 4 finals. So to get all these things passed out for you. Alright, here comes the assignment, and this is essentially like we're being recorded because these pages we probably know. Keep track on everything on there still as practice. Okay, this is our assignment. Answer keys online. Short one. Alright, so there's your assignment there. One more time. 1 through 6, you are not solving, you're just factoring. Stop. And then 7 on, we are actually solving from there. Okay? I'm going to now walk around real quick, pass out those mini quizzes to you from the other day. Like I said, cross board is fine. A couple things on the GCF, but I was happy. All right. So let me pass it out to you. Next. Same. Let's see. Let me see. Those look good, so just want to find those first 3 for me. And we round our check out. Alex is not. Caleb. Go away. Grab some. Parker. Aim. Lydia. Look. Yeah. Kurt. Andrew. 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 Alright, let's pay attention here if you want to. Front side is the first part that I was looking at. Alright, and the front side looked good. Like I said, I expected it. Typical mistakes that I see. Some of you reverse the signs. You put the signs in the wrong location. And then a couple of you had the right pair, but again, you put the pair in the wrong location. So always check your work to make sure you got it. But some of you I know are doing that in your head, which is fine. But always check it because some of you got the right information just in the wrong quantities. So that first one, what was the answer? 3x something. Minus 5. So take a look and see what you did there. Okay. But first thing I'm looking for is obviously is there 3x and 1x, and then do you use the right pair. After that, I'm looking for the signs and the right locations. Good across the board, that looked good. Same thing on number 2. Number 2, again, if you missed it, it was probably because, all right there, maybe you did not use the signs in the right locations or the 6 and 7 right location. Now, if you use something besides 6 and 7, that's where I might be a little bit concerned about. All right, but did you do these 2 right, or pretty darn close to script and signs? You're, like I said, we're still looking okay. Now, the back side we go. On the back side we go. That one is again pretty straightforward there. A was 1, and if you messed up, maybe I guarantee it probably will be fine the second time through. What do we got? X plus 8 and x minus 2. So 1 through 3 is where I'm looking at. That's looking fine. After that, 4 and 5 is just kind of hit and miss. The dang GCFs always mess up people. I don't care where you're at, how long you've been doing it, it always messes up people. What is the GCF here? GCF is 12M. Some of you just didn't take out the GCF. You took out a common factor, just not the greatest. I saw 2, I saw 6, but I didn't see 12. And then the M as well. Now, after that, we divide, show what you have left over. If you didn't take out the GCF, okay, that was not going to give the right answers there. But then you divided, and then some of you right here made the mistake. You divided, you said 2M, which is right, but then you stopped. 12M divided by 12M, something divided by itself is always 1. In this case, it's a minus 1. That's what I was looking for. Did you bring out the GCF correctly, and then did you divide again, take a look at that. My guess is next time through, they'll go a little bit better. Last one there, one more time, I even gave you a hint for that one. Look for GCF. Okay, here's where the mistake happened for some of you. You brought out the 5, which is exactly correct. X squared minus 6x and minus 16. Some of you did not divide correctly. It wasn't 16. And if you did not get 16 there, then you were not going to factor this at all. Okay? Then some of you stopped right there. Problem is we can keep going. X squared minus 6x minus 16, treat it just like you did over here. A is 1, B is negative 6, C is negative 16. So the final answer we were wanting was 5 out front. Did you bring that 5 out front? A few of you had lost half a point because of that. And then x plus 2, x minus 8. Okay? So take a look. It was fine. Typical mistakes. Some of you a little bit more than others, but it was fine. All right. So tomorrow, one more mini quiz similar to this, but it's going to have the solving part on there. And now I will pass out your review. Okay. Give me a second to pass it out for review. As I said, don't go and just plow through this today, tonight, tomorrow. Put on your watch 10, 15-minute increments and do it in chunks. If you have 4th hour, that usually gives you 4th hour, so maybe a study hall period at some point. Use that as your chunk, okay? Do 15 minutes in there on your watch, and then the next day, and the next day. And you should be fine. Now, working through this, you are stuck on some things. You got plenty of resources. You got your notes. You got buddies. You got the answer key online. You got your old answer keys online. Okay? It only covers the geometry we've done. It does not cover the algebra that we've been doing. Okay? This is a geometry class, even though we're doing a lot of algebra. Final will only be the geometry topics. Okay? So as you get this, first thing is put your name on it. This is not due, you can write at the top. This is due Friday the 16th. When you guys come in to me, all right, so you have that 75-minute period. There, come in, put your review into the basket, and get out paper, pencil, not paper, sorry, pencil, calculator, patty paper, and then a compass and straight edge, so all the tools that we use this semester on the final, and then we'll take the final 75 minutes. When the bell rings at 75 minutes, that's it. There's no no. There's it. There are no bonuses on the final. Alright, it is exactly just test questions. No extra help or anything like that. If you lose this, alright, on next Thursday night, for whatever reason, the dog ate it, dog pissed on it, whatever. Okay, it happens. Right? Not the pee part, but the A part. Alright, it's also online. It's online, as you can see. I have my answer key right here for you. On that, same deal. If you think I'm making a mistake on things, call me out on it. Alright, I'll take a look at it. But it is right there for you. So 10, 15-minute chunks each day. You guys got the weekend. Next Wednesday, Thursday, come prepared with any specific questions. I will open up those 2 days for any questions. And that's about it. That is going to be, then it will be your last assignment you turn in to me. Okay? So tomorrow, we'll do that. I'll give you a question review in preparation for next Tuesday. We're at the end. Today's magic number is 7. 7 days until the start of finals. Okay? So you got some still time, about 7 minutes. Find something to work on. All right. Get yourself prepared, organize your life.